the dismantling, the over policing of Black doctors, I'm sorry, Black residents, because it just pulls out how a Black resident who's in a predominantly white residency program, there's going to be microaggressions, not just from the folks that you're being in training with, as far as, feeling as if maybe you had to get a lot of extra supports to be where you are, but then also the microaggressions from patients actually.
You are tuned in to the Money Script Podcast. Today we will share strategies to help you grow your financial literacy and improve your money script. I'll be back with some important announcements. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johannes Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. Want to give a special shout out once again to my folks out in Tennessee. Like I mentioned it earlier, I didn't go to look and see the listens from Tennessee, but man, Tennessee is y'all on the map now. I guess no one went to Miami for spring break because you're all in Nashville because Miami was like shut down for spring break or something. So I'm happy for all the folks in Tennessee that are giving us a listen. And we are worldwide, so no matter where you are. Oh, and again, one other one. Dr. Charles, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, is originally from Haiti. And she promised me that Haiti would show up on the map, and it did. So shout out to Haiti on making it onto the map. It's your debut. It was the first time the Haitian flag showed up on the Money Script Podcast. So I hope you all are getting some financial literacy. These concepts are worldwide. Okay. We may talk about some of, money and investing in America, but the concepts are worldwide. They apply everywhere. So I'm glad to see that you're getting your financial dose of literacy, Haiti. I would say it in French, but my French is very rusty. I just did a few years in high school and college. So bonjour, bonsoir, d'accord, au revoir. There we go. So with that, I am honored today. Again, celebrating International Women's Month, to have in the spotlight Dr. Bryant. I've met Dr. Bryant at least a dozen times all over the United States at different emergency physician conferences. So Dr. Bryant is also an emergency physician and a lot of other accolades on top of that. She is, she's one of the hospital heroes from the pandemic. She was given that award with Doctors Fauci and Gupta. Dr. Gupta. Y'all remember them? Oh, we had to say their names or see their names every day.
Yes.
Always. So she is a hero amongst us and a hero match. She's the vice president of operations at the New England Medical Association.
Black doctors matter. That's
Black
what it's
doctors
about.
matter.
That's what
Black
it's about.
Female doctors matter too,
too,
as Dr. Charles was telling us a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So again, if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Johannes. I'm a financial advisor. I help people make better decisions with their money, and I'm here to bring you your daily dose, or daily, well, you can listen to it daily, your weekly dose of financial literacy. I interview people from all different walks of life, all over the planet, for them to share their story just on how they got from where they were to where they are today. And of course, we'll talk about their memory of money. Now, typically, we'll get into some hot topics that are going on in the financial world, but I decided for International Women's Month, instead of a hot topic, we would spotlight some women that are actually out there doing it big time in the financial world. So today we are going to spotlight, and by the way, some of these people I didn't even know. I just went and Googled top women in finance and came up with a list of like 25 of them. So last week we honored the Sunda Brown Duckett, president and CEO of TIAA. So that's in the financial world, of course. And then up next, we are going to spotlight Adina Friedman, chair and CEO of NASDAQ. Yes, NASDAQ. We're talking about NASDAQ, like the stock trading platform, NASDAQ. a woman's in charge.
Snap,
Okay. I'm pretty
snap.
sure she's the first woman in charge. I didn't read that just now. Y'all can check me later in the comments, but I'm pretty sure she's the first woman to
Sounds
run that
good to
organization.
me.
And so, and it's in this finance, and I talked to a lot of, we talked to Sonia a few weeks ago about this. Um, the financial industry, like the physician industry, is ripe for change and is
Yes.
hungry for more women, especially in leadership. So
Yes.
please, women, if you have an interest, we're here. We are welcoming you. If anyone's not welcoming you, let me know. We will get rid of them. We welcome you. And shout out to Alicia, my wife. She is sitting for her
Oh,
CFP next week. Whew,
yes.
I'm
Do
praying.
it. Do it
I'm praying
big.
too. So, with that, Dr. Bryant, tell us a little
Yes.
bit about, because with most of our doctors that are here, because we have a lot of medical students, residents that listen to the podcast.
And I'm glad
So,
they are. I'm glad they
yes,
are because
indeed.
I wish that I did when I was in medical school or even before medical school to learn how to manage your money before becoming that full grown up adult doctor. So
Yes,
I'm so glad
yes.
that you have a lot of
Thank you.
listeners in that
Thank you.
stage.
Thank you. So for those listeners, or for the listeners that are still in high school, because there's some of them as well, can you tell us a little bit about your journey on becoming a physician? So, I mean, did you know you wanted to be a physician, or was it
Hmm.
something that just kind of accidentally happened when you cut open a frog in biology class?
That is, and I do remember when I cut up a frog in biology class. So actually, so growing up, I mean, I didn't have any doctors in my family, just like most African Americans, doctors in this country, where I just kind of like watch the Cosby Show, which that's kind of a little like, oh, it's a doctor, or even having my own primary care doctor. I mean, he wasn't a black man, but hey, a primary care doctor and seeing what they do, or just I like science and I like taking care of people and helping people. And when I was in high school, I told my school counselor that I wanted to be a doctor, and she said, "Oh, well, you should go to Xavier." And Xavier University in New Orleans is a historically black college and
HBC,
university.
shout
Yeah,
out.
HBCU, and they're really known for putting black doctors in, or putting black doctors into the field. And so that's what I did, and it was a wonderful experience. It's as far as getting the supports that I needed, but then also because I do a lot of talks about increasing diversity in the field of medicine. I didn't feel like a other while I was at Xavier. I mean, maybe because it's a historical black college, but I just didn't have to think about some of the other stuff that you kind of think about when you're not on a campus of a historically black college. You don't have to think about imposter syndrome as much and whatnot, but maybe we'll delve into that maybe a little bit later on. But yeah, so I went to Xavier, and because don't put that X in front of it, you just say Xavier. Um,
Xavier.
and then went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia for medical school. And there I had maybe 13 other Black students in the class of 100. So 13%, that's not that bad.
That's not bad.
And particularly looking at how nationally the field for Black doctors in the field of medicine in our country is only 5%, maybe getting closer to 6%.
Wait,
Which,
what? Time out. Hold on. Because I
mhm,
know a lot of black doctors,
I know
but
you
maybe that's
do.
because I'm black. But you're telling
And
me
we kind of come together like,
we kind of
hey.
come. Actually, I'm not. Hey, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. When I'm at those conferences, if a black doctor, medical student, resident is walking by and is not going to stop and say something, I'm like, no.
Mm-mm, no.
We at
But
least acknowledge each other. Hi,
exactly. That
good
feels
to see
weird
you.
when
Yeah,
Black folks are in the hallway and they pass and they don't go. That feels weird
exactly.
to
I gotta
me.
get a nod. Either I need to. If you're young, I might get the up nod. If you're older, I may get the down nod. But as long as I need a nod. Need acknowledgement.
Exactly.
I see
Because
you.
there's not that many of us in the field. I mean, don't get me wrong. All right, Baylor, I see you down there in Texas. Y'all got a lot of Black doctors
Baylor's
down
doing
there.
it. They are.
They
Mhm.
are doing it well. But in other spaces, other medical institutions, actually, you don't see that many of us. So, and that's to my story. So, okay, 13%. that's pretty cool. But we still associated with everybody else in the medical school class. But then going off to residency, I went to residency in Philadelphia, and I was one of two Black doctors in a class of, I don't know. I mean, but it started to be a not so comfortable experience,
Mm.
mainly because, again, I'm Vonzella. Look, I'm smiley and I'm not confrontational, and I'm smart and I'm talented and I work hard. But the experiences that were had, of which there's a great article out there by one of the Landrys, not Alda Landry, but Audrey. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Landry, for slaughtering your first name, but it's called Dismantling the Over Policing of Black Residents. That is a thing
What?
because
Okay,
the
this is
higher
new. I
up
gotta
you
write that
go,
down. What
yes,
what was
yes,
that article again?
the dismantling the over policing of Black doctors, I'm sorry, Black residents, because it just pulls out how a Black resident who's in a predominantly white residency program, there's going to be microaggressions, not just from the folks that you're being in training with, as far as, feeling as if maybe you had to get a lot of extra supports to be where you are, but then also the microaggressions from patients. Actually, I heard from a student the other day who was saying that a patient didn't want them as their doctor, they wanted a white doctor. And so, you're dealing with those microaggressions, sometimes well, actually that was a macroaggression when I said that they
Yeah, I
didn't
was like,
want
yeah,
a
that
Black
was kind
doctor.
of
That
out. That was
wasn't
the
a
quiet part.
microaggression.
Yeah, that was the quiet part out loud. That was pretty
Yeah,
macro.
it was
Yeah, yeah.
so out loud. But then discrimination of opportunities, where
Mm.
we're noticing that that white program director or white chairman would, like, pretty much, well, what do they do? Maybe play golf, or let's go watch the game and have beers, brewskis, which I kind of like doing that too, to tell you the truth. But they tend to do it with people that look like them, which, I mean, we try to let them get away a little bit. Oh, they look like your cousin Johnny, or they look like your niece and whatnot. But we have to be intentional about how we, like, distribute opportunities, as far as doing presentations, getting on a research project, getting posters or poster ideas and whatnot. So yeah, so that's a thing that you know, Dr. Vonzella Bryant didn't really know about all that stuff when I was in medical school or as a resident trainee. But now that I am in the higher ups, and then lots of people are writing papers on this, it's just really spotlighting all those things that we need to change. Ooh, spotlighting, gaslighting. Ooh, let me go to the gaslighting, because even me as an attending, when I would mention certain things like, yeah, this colleague's kind of talking to me sideways, and or did you notice that these nurses, they always, and Foncella, no, really? But now that we have that term gaslight, I'm like, don't try to
Mm.
gaslight me, all of that. But I'm talking about all these negative things just to talk about why maybe uh, I, that we know why Black doctors end up leaving the field of medicine, period.
Mm.
And maybe that's why that number of Black doctors that we have is not about the recruitment. You can recruit, but if you don't create an environment where they are comfortable, they're
Mm.
out the door. They're gone. Which that it's bad. That's so terrible bad for the patient population that we serve, because there's tons of papers out there that say that patients who have providers that look like them or have shared experiences like them, they feel they trust the healthcare system more, meaning that they will comply with our medical recommendations, and then they'll be healthier. So it's Black doctors matter. We need to do that. We saw that with the pandemic, where initially there was mistrust of the vaccine, and actually there's still a little bit of mistrust of the vaccine. But if you have people that look like them to say, "Hey, I vouch for this," Yeah, maybe you get people to trust. Even though, to tell you the truth, it's not just the hesitancy of the vaccine that we found that people didn't want to get the vaccine. It was because of the healthcare system overall, as far as how patients were treated in our systems. And so, as far as being treated with disrespect, or I got stories on stories on stories where I'm like, I got you. You're safe. I'm going to make sure that because you are a Black person coming in my clinical setting, that you know that I'm listening, and I'm going to do all the things I got to do to make sure that you are going to be safe and taken care of.
Oh,
So, but
I have
that's my
stories.
journey.
Yeah, no, believe me. Oh, I got my own stories. So I have not shared this publicly, so this will be the first time.
Okay.
And I did share with you this before the show started. I have to have surgery soon. I've been diagnosed with multinodular non-toxic goiter. What that means is my thyroid has decided that it doesn't want to be in my body anymore. So we're going to snip, snip, take it out. But my first experience, I went to go see an ENT. And the ENT that I saw, and again, this is everybody has their own method, their own style. But I'm coming into this meeting assuming that I'm talking to a surgeon to discuss my options for what
Mhm.
we're going to do. And now I know I'm in a medical setting, but she was the only person in the office wearing a mask. Which,
Mhm.
okay, I mean that's your prerogative. You want to do that, but there was, for me,
Yeah.
I was there to, I thought, meet the person that's going to be my surgeon. Okay. And she was a female, or is a female. Okay. And
Mhm.
so this is something that's happened. This is an individual thing. It doesn't matter the person or the background. This is just a person that was doing this. But so I was having problems with nonverbal clues because all I can see is her eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. And the rest of our face gives us nonverbal clues. So as we're discussing things, the other issue that I had is that she never touched me.
Mm.
And
Mm.
about halfway into our conversation, well, one of the things that she was not aware is that I have relationships with a lot of physicians. So as I'm getting my results, I'm calling up physicians I know, like,
Yeah.
help me understand this. So
Good for
so
you.
I had a common knowledge of the language. I knew that FNA meant biopsy. Okay, I was
Hmm.
able to put those things together. I knew the size of a normal thyroid compared to the size of mine. I knew the words goiter and multinodular and all. So I had a good grounding in it, and I think it intimidated her a bit. She only looked at my paperwork as she was walking
Yes.
into the door, never looked at it again.
Hmm.
Again, never touched me. And then halfway into our conversation, I start asking questions about the surgery itself. And she says, well, actually, I won't be doing the surgery. It'll be a different doctor. I was like, why am I here with you? She's like, well, she said my eyesight isn't what it used to be, so I stopped doing surgeries a few years ago. I'm like, so why are we even here?
Right.
You know? And at the end of the day, she didn't tell me much more that I couldn't go read on WebMD. And I was like,
Wow.
that was in, and I'm blessed and fortunate to have health insurance, to have an
Mhm.
emergency reserve when things like this happen. So
Yeah.
I looked at some choice. I went and talked to some of my other doctors and said, hey, I got to go see somebody else. I need a second opinion. And I was
Hmm.
referred to a doctor that had actually did a similar surgery on one of his children.
Okay.
Um, and so I went to go see that doctor. He walked in, shook my hand,
That's what's up.
sat down with me eye level, pulled out the chart and the notes, started asking questions. I also gave him the impression that I had a basic understanding of some things, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Okay, so you've done a little research." And I told him where my research is coming from. He said, "Oh, great. So let's go through this together." And when he
Love
said that
that.
T word, I mean, just stress just melted away. And I was like,
Love that.
yeah, let's do this together. And he's taking notes on it and flipping back and forth. And I can see the facial expressions of his confusion and then thinking and working through
Hmm.
things. And then he said the magic words, do you mind if I touch your neck? And I was like, yes, sir. Wrap your hands around
Yes.
my throat. I give you permission. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I felt
Yes.
so at ease. Now, a couple
Oh.
things about this surgery. It's going to cost me more money.
Mm,
He's out of network,
mhm,
but I feel so much more comfortable with him because of how he made me feel seen,
mhm.
heard,
Yes.
understood,
Yes.
went through all of my options. And at the end of the day, he told me, he's like, actually, it's your choice. He's like, you can wait. You could go do a repeat FNA if you want to. He said, but here's the risk.
Mhm.
Then he asked me what I did for a living. I told him, and he said, okay, so you get numbers. So let me go through standard deviations. And I was like, okay. And he talked about risks. I said, say less, doctor. Send me to your assistant. Let's
I
schedule
love that.
this surgery. So, but
That's
you're right. I again, I put myself in a category that's a slight bit different because I have so many relationships with
mhm.
physicians,
Yeah.
and I'm the type of person that goes and gets a physical annually. I reach out to doctors for support. My parents were not that way. My parents were the hippies. They were anti. I was one of those individuals. I was an anti-vax kid.
Mhm.
My parents didn't get me vaccinated.
Yeah.
I didn't get vaccinations until I went to college, because college I went to HBCU and they were like, nah, brother. Yeah, that
Trust me
religious letter,
again.
we're
Trust
not
me
doing
again.
that. They're like, what's the religion? And I was like, God,
Uh,
Jesus, Bible.
I love that. I love
Wow.
that.
They're like, no, you're gonna go get your shots. And so it was over time, and also my parents, their lack of having a relationship with doctors, in my opinion,
Yeah,
caused us to have to bury them a little bit earlier
I'm
than
sorry to
we
hear
probably
that.
should have, because my father didn't go into the doctor until he was already CHF full blown. Um, you know, and then Daddy, I'm putting you on blast. I love you.
Mm.
Um, Heavenly Father. He then was making some decisions of take my heart medicine or take Viagra, because he wasn't supposed to do both.
Oh, yeah, that was a twist. I thought you were gonna say, okay, yeah, because
So there were times where he thought Viagra was a little bit more important.
yes. Oh, I
The things we
appreciate
do.
you. I appreciate you for sharing your story. I love that.
So I learned. But I appreciate you, being a leader in this field,
Yeah,
of not
yeah,
just as a physician, but also as a leader to future
yeah,
physicians,
yes, yeah.
and a speaker, and bringing this to the forefront, and wearing your Black Doctors Matter shirt with pride.
Yes,
Amen.
indeed, wherever I can. In which I
Amen.
always get a even from white folks, because they know that it's important. It's so important. But I appreciate your story because I mean, there's just so many stories from Black doctors who have been disrespected in the hospital setting as patients, and just because it's just so that's why the importance of just having more of us in the field, because that will help decrease the bias overall, to not assume that this Black brown person wouldn't have the health literacy, or even if they don't, still, like you said with that doctor, take the time to sit down with you and treat you like a human being and just go through things. It's just so important.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
appreciate
So,
you.
yeah, oh, indeed. So, how did you choose emergency medicine, or why emergency medicine?
Well, when I first went to medical school, I thought primary care because that's the only kind of doctor that I really knew of. Except for, oh yeah, there was that movie with Harrison Ford, The Fugitive, and he was a CT surgeon. Watched a lot of movies growing up. I'm sorry, and I was like, I'll be a CT surgeon too. But then when first rotation was OB-GYN and catching babies, that seems really cool and fun. But then when you're in medical school, you do rotations in different fields. And when I did my emergency medicine rotation, that's what solidified me to want to be an emergency medicine doctor, where, you're on the front lines. Frontline heroes, where you're like there for any traumas that come through, car accidents, the unfortunate, unfortunate any trauma, but unfortunate gunshot wounds or stabbing
PSWs.
victim.
Yep.
Yeah, of which, to tell you the truth, let me state this though. I appreciate that our culture for emergency medicine, hopefully, I know that definitely at my residency program, we're doing this, but like you want to go to a residency program that's going to train you to be really great at traumas. But then when you look at it, most of those traumas are coming from red lined areas. Red line meaning that though historically those areas that financial institutions didn't want to invest in. And so they have high unemployment rates and high crime rates and high poverty rates. And so we do recognize that, okay, these patients that we're taking care of, unfortunately, the system was designed for them, for these areas to be this way. So we do take a step back and just realize, hey, this is it's not cool, and the effect on the community that they live in. Which I probably don't have time to talk about some of the other programs, like the Violence Intervention Advocacy Program that we have at Boston Medical Center. Is so crucial and important as far as helping to try to decrease that violence or the clapback from any of these violent activities that happen in our communities. But okay, but I get to also, as an emergency medicine doctor, try to diagnose strokes, diagnose heart attacks, got to get infectious stuff that I get to, abscesses, drain, get to catch a baby every now and
Catch
then.
baby. I
You
was
know, I
thinking, I
know
was like,
that's
yeah,
not
catch a baby every now
that's
and
my
then. Oh yeah.
football, but it's or put on my psych hat and help someone who's going through intense anxiety or help somebody who's in a psychotic break. But I learned all of these skills that I always tell my medical students that I'd be very important in a zombie apocalypse. So
Yes, you would. That
I
is
can do
also
a lot
why
of things.
that's why I'm friends with a lot of ER doctors, because that. So when clients ask
Put
me,
that bone back in, it's
yeah,
broken.
when they ask me what is the worst thing that can happen, okay, when
Yes.
they're talking about fine, they're like, what's the absolute worst thing to happen? I have to sit and think, because I'm like, well, when I started my career, a few months in, September 11th happened,
Yeah.
and that seemed like the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, planes falling out of the skies, and
Yeah.
buildings collapsing, and planes being grounded, and then recession and war and all that other stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
and homegrown. These people were trained, but we
Yes.
trained these people to fly
Yes.
planes in the buildings. Like, they were like,
Yes.
yeah, don't worry about the landing. I just need to
Mhm.
learn everything getting into the air.
Yes. Yes.
I'm joking about it now, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Um,
But still,
but
yeah,
that
that's what
was
we're trying though.
tragedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, and I was like, oh, that's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
But then fast forward to 2008 and 2009, and we have the financial crisis, the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. So great, they
Yes.
called it the Great Recession.
Yes.
And by the way, they can only name these things after they happen. So it's not like, oh, here comes the Great Recession. It was like,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
that's what it
Yes.
was after they looked at it. And it's like,
Folks
whoa, that's the
struggling.
worst that could happen.
Hmm.
And now I'm like, all right, we got through it. That was okay. We got through another one. And then there was a certain election that had us a little weirded out, but at the same time, I was looking at history. I was like, there's been enough bad presidents, if you want to put them in that category, or
Yes.
ones that at least half the people don't agree with. And I was like, okay, that
Mhm.
can't be that bad. But then the
It's
pandemic hit,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
thought I had seen it all. So
Yeah.
I say all that to share that when clients
Yes.
ask what's the worst thing can happen, the first thing I mentioned is America ceasing to exist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What
Yes.
that looks like, I don't know, because I've never lived in a world where America didn't exist, and there's no one on the planet that has lived in a world where America did not exist.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we can only speculate what that looks like. And we don't know if the fall is a 100-year fall. We don't know if we're in the fall. We
Mhm.
don't know until after it's happened, or if it happens in 100 days. Don't know that part. So that's number one. Number two is zombie apocalypse.
Up
That
there.
is on my list of the worst things that could happen. And I tell them, look, and if America fails or there's a zombie apocalypse, all bets are off. Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't tell you what's the stock market. I don't know that it means
Look,
anything.
I'm
I don't
done.
even know that money means anything,
Yes. Yes.
And then the third one, which is also one of my distant favorite,
Mhm.
is something alien. Now that alien could be an asteroid hitting the Earth and causing the
Yes.
tsunamis and killing the dinosaurs and all the good stuff, or it could
Mhm.
be a spaceship landing on Earth. But I'm convinced. I
Yeah.
go by. I agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson. We are not that interesting,
Yes.
because if we were, the aliens would already been here. They were like, oh, this is interesting. But if they, because to get here, they have to be far more advanced than us,
Oh
which
my
means they
goodness.
already know we exist, and
Yes.
we just must not be that interesting. So
Oh man, okay. There's so many things that popped up in my head while you were going through all the things that you're going through. Let me start with the most recent thing that you just said, because this is Dr. Bryant's kind of, yeah, y'all gonna be like, yeah, she is a little girl. But look, I've been waiting for my reparations. I'm just saying. But I was hoping that the Wakandians are gonna come back and liberate us with all that vibranium. And
get the vibranium out
we're
here.
gonna be
Yes.
like, yes, we
Yes, Suri, I
black
want Suri to
folks
do my
will be
surgery. Suri, you do
free.
my surgery. That's what I want. That's what I want to
Exactly.
do my surgery. Yes.
Exactly.
Send me to Wakanda. I'll get my surgery there, eat some flowers, and I'll come back and do some podcast.
Exactly. But then the other thought that you gave me is 2008. And actually, so I graduated from my residency program in 2003. I stayed in Philadelphia for a year, waiting for my partner, fiance, husband, to finish his training program as a pediatric hematology oncologist. And we actually moved here to the New England area in 2004, where I took a new job, bought a new house, have a new
In the middle of the
dog,
recession?
got married. This was 2004.
Oh,
And
2004. Okay, okay.
so many stressors. You're like, and actually, this is our 20th anniversary year, even though it's also my 50th year of living. And so I kind of
Yeah.
celebrating that a little bit more than my anniversary. Is that bad? I don't know. I'm doing all the things. It's my
Do it all.
50th year. But the thing is, I remember, I think it was 2000. Well, actually, before I left Philadelphia, I spoke with a financial advisor, and he got me that book, Girl, Get Your Money Straight, which I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah. I got
this
that
is
over
a
here.
good read.
She's been on the show.
Yeah, okay, all right. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a good read. But then 2000, I want to say either five or six. One of my colleagues at work, he mentioned his financial advisor, and at first my partner he was like, but I was convinced. I mean, my colleagues seemed to be doing really well. He was talking about the profits, that he was making from having a financial advisor, and actually 2008 with the recession, we were good. I mean, I
Mm.
had nursing colleagues who were like, oh my gosh, and I was just like, just eat my popcorn, like, I'm sorry, but we
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so I mean, it's so, and so I guess I just state that it's so important to, really think about finances. I mean, and even at that time, it wasn't like putting tons of money away. It was just putting out as much as you can, this here, that here, just to get that money to work and not just sit there so that it can grow and grow. And now we got our college funds going, got retirement funds that are where they should be. Um, my mom's not too far away from earshot, but just in case, she has to, she's fine though. She's fine. But just in case, she needs a little cushion for like assisted living or something like that, it's good to have that money, that cushion of money set up for that. So
Yes. No,
yeah,
there was a few thoughts that went through my mind as oh, actually, let me bang on the medical community one more time. So
yeah,
if you are a technician
mhm,
and it is your job to work the ultrasound machine and take pictures,
yes,
when a patient walks in and they are probably a little nervous, you ask them how they're doing, and they're like, just a little nervous.
hmm.
Um, don't say to them, well, I'm going to lie you down on the table and we're going to use the ultrasound machine and we're going to check and see if you have cancer. Don't say that right before
Oh,
someone lays on the table. Because, first of all,
yes.
it's not your job to check and see if they have cancer. It's your job to
Mhm.
take the pictures. So that's
Yeah,
not even your
yeah.
call. Even if you think you know, even if you're in school to know, that's not your job.
Nope, nope.
Okay. So you should have never said that, because for 15 minutes while I'm laying on the table, that's
Yeah.
all I can think about. Because all I know is that, okay, I got this swelling going on. And yeah, I Googled it. I knew that was a rare possibility, but
Hmm.
you made me sit there and dwell on it for 15 minutes. And yes,
Yeah.
I gave feedback to that physician's office. That was the worst thing you can say to someone.
And just a little thing, I appreciate the doctor, the second doctor that you talked about, asked your permission to examine you, because a lot of times back in the day, it was just like, and they just go in and start touching and whatnot. No. Is it okay for me to touch your stomach to check for tenderness? So actually, the medical community or student community, they are learning how to be better communicators, but how to do this with patient oriented first. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I
Yeah,
just
no,
want
it's
to make
okay. No, it's all right.
that's
No,
okay.
it's quite all right. But as I'm going through these horrific thoughts in my mind of the
Mhm.
worst things that can happen, and then when I left with my wife, we decided to go get something to eat, and she was like, "What's going on? Tell me what's on your mind," because she could tell I was distraught. I went in nervous and came out more nervous, and I shared with her. I said, there's a few things that bring me some peace and calm. Number one is that we have health insurance. Okay. Is it the best health insurance on the planet? No, but does anyone have the best insurance on the planet? Yes, the person that has it. If you have
Well, I
insurance,
don't know. Unless
I,
you do that black bag thing, concierge medicine, but
yeah, that's true.
otherwise,
Yeah, it's tough, but to have it versus not having it, yeah, I'd go with having it. Number two is that we have a cash reserve.
Mhm.
So if I got to meet that deductible, if I got to meet that out of pocket maximum, we can do it. Now, do I like the fact that I have to spend that money? Absolutely not. But I'm very fortunate that we have it.
Mhm.
Number three, if this were something that were debilitating and I would find myself, disabled afterwards, I have
Yeah,
disability insurance.
there you go. There you
Number
go.
four, heaven forbid, and I had to
Yes.
say this to my wife in a very kind of way. I was like, look, I mean, financially, you're going to be fine.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
if
Love
I for
that.
some reason, and the way I described it to her, I said, if I walk out into the street right now and get hit by a bus,
Mm.
I didn't put it on what was going on. I was like, if I just
Yeah.
something more random,
Mhm.
you're going to be just fine.
Love that.
And on top of that, we've got all the paperwork in place: wills, power of attorney, directive of
Yeah,
physicians,
of
trust.
that. Yes, yes,
All
all
that
those
stuff is
things.
there. So
Yes.
that knowing that those financial items were checked off, it allowed us to pour our energy into what was most important:
Yes. Yeah,
time with each other,
100%.
loving on each other, being with
100%.
each other, and not stressing about the financial aspects of just being a human on the planet.
Exactly. Even though
So,
when your son was a teenager, was your son like, "Hey, can we pull out some of that money so I can get me a Mustang car?"
oh,
I
of
was
course. He's still, what do you mean when he was a teenager? He's 22. And so, Dad, there's this new piece of equipment I really want to get, and it costs more money than I have. I'm like, sounds like you gotta wait. My
Yes, right.
birthday's not until October, so and even when it's your birthday, I don't know, those days are gone, son.
Exactly. I'm like, you a teenager too, boy. You gonna get you a Mazda 626 like I did.
626, dang, I had a
Well,
323. Dang, you doubled. He had
oh
a
no, it was a used and it was a stick shift. And I didn't even know how to drive a stick shift.
mm. Yeah, so my first my first car was a Mazda 323, and it was basically a car my dad found in the back of someone's yard that was rotting, and he said, here, it turns on, figure it out. And
Yes, yes.
after I replaced the alternator the third time, I was like, I don't think this car is meant to
Yeah.
exist. But then the next car I got, I was helping my dad paint a house.
Mhm.
And part of the financial remuneration for painting the house was I got to drive away in her Nissan Sentra, 92 Nissan Sentra with,
Nice.
I don't know, 114,000 miles on it or something. But hey,
Nice.
it was her car, her first car, what have you. And she was pregnant with twins. So she
Uh-huh.
said, they're not going to fit in that Sentra. And so
Wow.
I spent 3 weeks painting this woman's entire house. My dad did the
Yes.
outside, I did the inside, and painted her baby rooms. It was like, one of those, painted the kitchen.
Yes.
I painted the whole house. And when it was all said and done, my dad wasn't even there for the last day. It was all said and done, final day. She's signing over the title to me. I do that whole, paperwork part and sign the title. Don't tell anybody I signed my dad's name, but I did. He told me, he was like, he said, you signed it for worse things. I was like, what are you talking about, Dad? No, I haven't. You never saw that report card. Anyways.
But that means you showed up though, just showing up. And I told my son this today. just showing up at things, opportunities pop up. So
They
that's
pop
amazing.
up. But I tell you
Just
what popped next was that clutch, because I did not know it was a stick
yes.
until she's shooing me off. Her husband comes home and she's like, all right, well, we got to, it's, 8, 9 o'clock. We're going to get ready for bed, dinner, what have you,
Yes.
enjoy the car. And like, she had this little fake, well, no, I wouldn't say fake. It was this, like, it was plastic, but this crystal she had dangling from the
Yes.
rear view.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, do you want the crystal? She said, no, it's yours. It's good luck. I
Okay.
get the keys. I go and sit down and I go to turn it on and I look and I see the stick and I'm like,
Oh.
I don't know how to do this. It was a
Yes.
long way home. It took me 20 minutes to realize I needed to hold the clutch to start the car. It didn't know anything. So, anyways, that was
You're gonna
my
learn today,
experience.
as they say. You're gonna
Yeah.
learn today.
I learned. I did. I learned that day. My dad was laughing. He was like, all those days you were pulling up our house, you never looked in it, asked to take it for a test
Yes,
drive. I said, no, I knew it was mine when I was finished painting. That's all I was focused on.
yes, yes,
Finished painting. So speaking of our past and our childhood,
yes.
Dr. Bryant, if you would, something
Mhm.
that we share with all of our audience members, and we asked all of our guests, is to share what your first memory of money is.
Mhm. Oh man. You, you probably prepped me for that, and I just didn't have time to think about
No,
it.
we actually prefer for people not to be prepped. We want you to go with whatever comes first as you go into the recesses of your mind and think about your first interaction, your first memory. When did you know that money was a thing, and what kind of thing was it for you?
Oh, I mean, 'cause to tell you the truth, I mean, green is my favorite color, of which I think I remember like doing a poem like green is the grass growing, green is like well my eyes are hazel or what color are my eyes, but then I'd be green is money. But then I mean I feel like I did chores. And so I feel like that's how I got money, even though oh, like one of my not best memories is that well my cousin I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, and my mom would always talk about the hood of Kansas City, which to tell you the truth, yeah, there was a hood of Kansas. I mean, again, redlined areas. They're all over the country. But I remember I didn't have lunch money, and my cousin, my older cousin, I said, oh my gosh, I mean, just off the side, and he's like, you want some money? You need some money? He gave me this $20 bill, and I was just like,
That was a lot of money back then.
right? I mean, let's
That's enough.
see.
That's enough for everybody in the whole class lunch. Like everybody lunch on me.
Because I mean, I already said that this is my 50th born year, and so that meant like I was probably like 1990 or 1989 or something like that. And like, shoot, or even
Yeah,
like
that's close to
I mean, that was a lot of money.
that's close to $50 today. It is.
I know. But I mean, as far as, and then I worked at Merry-Go-Round, which was a clothing store.
Well, you worked at
It's not there
merry-go-round.
now, but you said that
Wow. Shout out to Fubu and
worked that
Nietzsche,
one, Cross Colors,
Cross Colors,
or even
Hogs
worked
and
at
I.
Blockbuster Video Store when I was in undergraduate at Xavier in New Orleans, and got 5 free rentals a week and whatnot. But I remember going to Popeyes and being like, because being so broke back then, where I was just like, yeah, can I get a beans and rice and a biscuit? Because I was so broke, I was so hungry. But I don't know, like my memories of money, just kind of like, yeah, I knew you had to work for it, but then to save it also, yeah, I don't know. I just or even in medical school, just always eating cereal like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and um, yeah, memories of money. But uh, I'm not sure what else I can do
Those
to
are all
expound on
great.
it. But
That
yeah,
was a great platter of memories. And I'm sure once we hang up, you're going to go on about your weekend and something's going to hit you like, oh,
I should have said this.
I remember that. Yeah. But you know what? That's perfectly fine, because a lot of us, and that's why we ask that of our guests, is because a lot of us that don't get to interact with a financial advisor, that don't build their own or have their own financial literacy regimen, like reading books and things of that nature, it's really easy to get detached from what was prescribed to you as a youngster when it comes to money. And
Yeah.
sometimes we hold on to those, or we anchor ourselves in those ideas and their beliefs, those beliefs, and they may not be true. But if we aren't able to break out of it and explore our own financial literacy journey, it can be detrimental to our financial health. It can, because the American system is designed on capitalism and consumerism.
Yeah.
And if we spend all of our lives just being consumers and don't learn how to be savers, we will always be dependent on the capitalistic society, meaning dependent upon the government.
Yes.
So no, that's why we ask that, to just help our listeners to think about their relationship with money and find some ways to improve it.
And you know what? Actually, that is our talking point these days with healthcare disparities or inequities is economic mobility. Like if we can have our patients be more stable with their finances, then maybe they'll be able to prioritize their health over thinking about, oh, well, I got to, spend money on my child care or spend money on other things that's
Yeah.
not
What do I have to
instead of
trade so I
buying
can
their
get this
prescriptions or
prescription?
food for
Exactly.
the kids instead of buying
Exactly.
their prescriptions or having
Mhm.
stable housing. So the economic mobility is definitely the huge talking points. And I love how there's that thing to help us to be able to thrive instead of just survive. And yeah,
Amen.
it's so
Yes,
important
it is.
learning your finances. So
Yes,
appreciate
indeed.
that.
Well, Dr. Bryant, thank you so much for spending some time on the Money Script podcast. I cannot wait to read Dismantling the Over Policing of
Of
Black
Black residents. It's
Residents.
an article. It's an
Yeah.
article.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I got the title totally correct, but yeah, look
I'm
it up. Look it up.
Google will find it.
Yes,
I'm
it
sure Google will find
would.
it, or Chat GPT. Somebody will find it.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for spending some time on the Money Script podcast. For people that want to learn more about you or some of the organizations that you're involved in, how can they find you?
Oh, yes. Oh goodness. So at Vonzella B96 is my Instagram. But then more than that, I want them to go to our NEMA website. I think it's at NEMA dash NMA .org.
Oh, another
I,
NMA organization. Got it.
I
Okay, we
know,
will
right? I
add that to
believe
the
I
show
believe
notes.
that's the one, and I'm checking it. Yes, yes. Please check into that. Donate to that. Just as far as helping us be the voice for Black physicians and trainees in the New England area, to not just try to recruit, but to help with the wellness and our mental health, and helping to show opportunities to these young folks. Because I mean, there's more to do with your MD than just taking care of patients, which we love. That's what we do. But there's just so much more that you can do with your medical degree. So I definitely want to share that.
Well, we thank you. Thank you for being a guest on the Money Script podcast. We hope to have you back. Happy International Women's Month. And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend
Indeed.
that Black
All right.
doctors matter.
100%.
We'll see y'all next time. Take care.
Thank you.
I'm back. Wasn't that a great show? I hope you learned something. I know I did. Now, before you go trying anything you heard today, remember it is not intended to be specific tax or legal advice. If you need that, go see a CPA or an attorney. If you would like any complimentary consultation with a knowledgeable advisor, visit moneyscript.com and schedule a 15-minute consultation. Want Johans to come speak at your next event? Go to the Money Script website for that too. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. MoneyScript Wealth Management is a registered financial advisory service in multiple states. Want to learn more? Get the full disclosure on our website, moneyscript.com.